Hi, you're listening to Soulful Wellness. I'm Kit Noonan.
And I'm Kaelynn Serena Stanton, and we're here to simplify wellness as you let go of being a perfectionist and embrace the joy of being you. Welcome back, Soulful Society, to another episode of Soulful Wellness. Welcome back, Soulful Society. We are so happy to have you. If you're new, welcome. We are honored you chose this podcast. You guys, before we get into the heart of today's episode, we're going to kick things off with our up of the week.
And it's a doozy.
It's quite relevant.
It's a big, impactful up. Go ahead and tell them.
Kit came over yesterday. We were so excited to do our second YouTube video. We had everything set up. We recorded a full episode, 34 minutes actually.
Using both a camera and an iPhone.
Oh yeah.
And having quality audio with our mics directly into GarageBand. So there's all kinds of redundancy here, right?
Honestly, I probably spoke too soon because I remember feeling like, wow, we finally figured it all out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got it.
Kit sends over the tracks last night for me to get into them today and start editing, putting everything together for you beautiful people, until I realized that there's no track of mine. It's just Kit, which we love, but we wouldn't really get a whole episode. Not that much.
Too much of a good thing is just too much. Yeah, there were two tracks. We made sure there were two tracks. They just happened to be two identical tracks that we somehow failed to notice.
Yeah, so essentially, we don't have an episode. We have a crappy audio, great YouTube video, full episode, but we have no MP3.
We're switching topics completely. So if you're interested in what we plan to release this week, you're going to have to hop on over to YouTube, and the audio is okay, but it's not good enough to be a podcast.
Definitely not. This is where our ADHD really comes in handy. We are switching gears and we're switching topics.
Yep.
And guys, the funniest part is we have a Rolodex of f-ups for this f-up of the week segment. It could really pretty much be the entire episode.
There's just so many. The list just grows faster than we can put them out there.
Today's episode, it's inspired by February, the month of love, and an email submission by one of our OG members of the Soulful Society, our boy, Kenny. He sent us a really funny, relatable email with a meme about self-love, and it inspired today's episode. So thank you, Kenny. Big shout out to you.
The recording we did yesterday, it was all focused on anxiety and like heightened anxiety and how it just seems to be running rampant and taking over lives at this late February time of life. Kaelynn gave me a little tip. The tip was to listen to recordings of positive affirmations. And then she sent me the links to two different playlists on Spotify. And so I started my day with them today.
Yay! I did your tip last night, which doesn't have anything to do with self-love, but sleep. When you challenged me to when I really wanted to hit next episode on Netflix, but I knew it was time to go to sleep. So I did do that. We'll see how long that lasts.
I would argue that does support your self-love because you love yourself enough to do the right thing for yourself. To be your own parent and say, turn off the TV and go to bed.
Yeah, you're so right. It's all about reparenting ourselves, treating ourselves kindly, trying to garner a little bit more self-compassion, which is what we were talking about when anxiety is running rampant. The inner critic is just so freaking mean.
Yeah.
And the scripts that they run is just brutal. So we talked a lot about that and about how when it's hard to cultivate self-compassion, what are the things we can do when our wellness tools just don't feel like they're really doing the trick.
Mm-hmm. And I loved hearing, especially the lady from the playlist you sent me from Spotify, hearing her say those really beautiful, positive messages of self-love and self-belief. and just starting my day was the first thing I tapped this morning when I woke up. And I thought about what you said about you kind of subliminally listen. You're not just sitting there focusing just on it. You have them playing as you start your day. So I thought, okay, I don't need to carve out special time for this. This isn't one more thing I need to make time for in the morning. I just played them. I'm having a good day despite our finding out that our audio isn't available, which could have been devastating.
Kit calls me. You called me and you're like, I have really, really bad news. I'm just going to get straight to the point.
I knew if I
I'm like,
paused,
okay. And you're like, it's about our episode.
I didn't want to pause. I want to be like, I have terrible news and then send you spiraling. So that's why I just like plowed right through.
You're like, it's bad. It's not fixable. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
There
is no second track.
I'm not really good in like everyday problems recently, but I'm weirdly good in crisis. I don't know. So we just got to it and here we are.
Well, it's just the ability to pivot, to not let yourself get mired down and like, oh my God, no, how could this happen? Oh no, this is awful. We don't have time for that. We just need to pivot. It happened. It's done. The track with your voice does not exist. So new plan. What are we doing now? I know it sounds like we're all over the place, and to some degree we are, but it all is with the theme of self-love and self-acceptance and not begrudging reality, not saying, I resist, I rub against the way things are because I don't like them. You don't have to like them, but it's your reality. It's your existence. Like, this is who we are. So what are we going to do with it to make it work? We're going to pivot.
We're going to pivot. I want to play a special clip.
Here we go. Pivot.
Any fans of the show Friends know the famous Ross scene where he's yelling, pivot, pivot. And that's why I feel our brains just kicked us into high gear. So when it comes to self-love, it can seem so elusive and sort of silly, like just love yourself, as if it's simple. But there really are small things we can do, like showing up for ourselves consistently by doing just the littlest of things, like Kit, your go-to tool in the morning of drinking a tall glass of water. The first thing makes you feel like you're telling your body, you're welcome. I'm taking care of you. Like, I got you.
You matter. You're important.
Yeah.
Doing things to help you be healthy are important. I'm going to do it first thing as a symbol of my commitment to me.
Definitely. And so when it comes to the affirmations in the morning, I actually got that from a TikTok where a neuroscientist shared that that's her morning routine. No phone, but affirmations instead, as our brains are still transitioning out of beta waves. So that was super interesting. So when I saw that and learned that it is subliminal, I've been trying to implement that the last few weeks, and we'll see how it goes. And it also helps for when you're not feeling the most creative when it comes to affirmations. You can just listen to them, look them up on Pinterest, see what resonates, and then build your own from there and let it take over.
Get some new material in the repertoire there.
Exactly. So we mentioned that longtime listener Kenny emailed us a incredible quote around self-care. It was actually off of a Reddit thread, and the title is so funny. It's "Self-care is roasting the mean voice in your head." And the person goes, ever notice that the mean voice in your head that insults you is awful confident for something that's literally never done anything in its life except be mean to you? Like, one of us is pathetic, and it's not me, buddy. Get a hobby. Yikes.
Kind of like turnabout is fair play, since that little gremlin voice is always undercutting us.
Yeah.
Always questioning our capabilities, our abilities, who we are, and our worth. Kind of turning the table back and being like, okay, we're always talking about me. Let's talk about you for a second. What have you done lately? And then it's like, be really mean to you? You're like, yeah, you're kind of one note in that regard. Anything else? And it's like, all my energy, attention, and concentration goes into thinking of mean things to say to you. Like, that's it. That's it. You got nothing else. Like, what's plan B? No plan B.
Yeah. Shining a light on it sometimes really does reduce the power. And if, let's say, the inner gremlin is a shadow, as soon as you shine a light, doesn't the shadow disappear?
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to work.
Okay, science. Hashtag science. I love this meme and this conversation so much. Yeah, it's putting it back on the inner gremlin. And I know I've experienced firsthand, unfortunately, in the last week, when it just completely overrides the narrative and the scripts in your head. And you feel almost powerless and overtaken by it to the point where you do believe it. And sometimes it really takes just a phone call with a friend. I texted Kit and I was like, I'm struggling so bad right now. I don't actually think I can move forward in the plans that I've made, but I already committed. And you called me right up and we talked about it. We made a plan and we shined that light on that damn gremlin.
And it worked out beautifully.
It did. It actually worked out better than I could have imagined.
I love the idea of flipping the script on the gremlin. I've never done that before. I just let the gremlin talk about me and insult me and undermine me. And it has never occurred to me to say, you know what? We only ever talk about me.
Tell me about yourself.
Like you said, it feels so credible. I take what that gremlin says as gospel. I don't fight back. I don't dispute it. I'm like, oh no, really? Oh my gosh. You know, when it's like, oh, you're so embarrassing, everything you say is embarrassing. I'm like, oh no, how could I not have noticed that sooner? I don't say like, are you sure? Because you're the only one saying that. I got to start doing that. I got to start sticking up for myself.
Well, you know what I'm starting to notice is the energetics of it all, like the breeding ground for the inner gremlin. I know we've talked about this before where if you're in a really tired state, if you're exhausted, perfect breeding ground for the gremlins.
Oh yeah, the setup.
To come and run the show. If you're feeling, particularly weak physically, mentally, let's say like a post-panic attack, or if physiologically, like I know when I'm having gut health issues, inner gremlin is running rampant because of the brain-gut connection. Something in particular that I've noticed is too much social media scrolling. So too much intake of content and not enough time with myself, time off of social media. Things seep into our brains and we get in this comparison mode and like the lack mindset, the scarcity mindset instead of the abundance mindset. And so I want to share with you guys a trick that my cousin taught me. So when you're feeling low, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling jealousy, which by the way, check out our episode recently on that. What she does, instead of like, let's say you see someone with, 100,000 followers and you're trying to grow your following, for example, or you see someone with a dream business that you want on Etsy and thriving instead of in survival mode. Instead of us getting down on ourselves and thinking, it's another person taking up space, taking the dream I want, what my cousin says is, thank you, universe, for showing me what's possible.
That's beautiful. I love that response.
Me too, because it really flips the script and puts you back in your personal power.
Yes, instead of look what someone else has that I wish I had, you can interpret it as the universe is saying, I'm showing you what's for you. Don't give up. I'm going to keep putting it in front of you, in front of your face, so it's present at the front of your mind, because this is your path. I am lighting the way. You just keep stepping.
Yes.
Yeah, that is empowering and motivating. I really love that interpretation.
I think it's important to recognize that we all have an inner gremlin and there's different seasons, literally too, right? Winter is so hard for you and I, where the inner gremlin, our self-critic, is just raging and trying to run the show. We're all going through it and you have support. You're not alone in this. And just shine that dang light on that gremlin. Get a different job, gremlin.
And that's a really important message and a takeaway that we talked about yesterday as well, but is very relevant to self-love, is you are not alone. You have your squad. You have your supporters. You have trusted people who love you and care about you and want to help you. Reach out to them when you need to. Part of self-care is getting help for yourself from others. Self-care is not this encapsulated, isolating thing. It's knowing how to utilize your supports and your resources for your own betterment. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
That was so, so beautiful. And we'll end it on that. We so appreciate you, SoulFull Society. Don't forget, if you haven't already, to hit that subscribe button, to follow us on our new YouTube page, and to share this with a friend that you think would enjoy this episode and deserves a little more love today. We love you guys so much. Till next week, peace, love, and light.
Peace, love, and light.
The SoulFull of Wellness hosts are certified health and wellness coaches. This podcast is intended to inform and entertain listeners on their wellness journey. This podcast is meant to enhance, not replace, listeners' care from doctors, therapists, or other medical providers.